Hi guys, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. And before I introduce what I'm going to review, this is also the video early in the month where I tell you which one of my Patreon supporters won the draw for winning one of the things that I reviewed or looked at in the previous month. And this month I went to Google's random number generator. 44 Patreon supporters supported me. The payment that just got processed. I thank each and every one of you. It's the largest number of supporters I've ever had, and every little bit helps. So the number on the random generator was 18. So I took the list of supporters, counted down to 18, and Oliver M. from the United States is the winner. I've sent him an email. Oliver, congratulations. Today we're going to take a look at this. What is this? This is a knife. Well, you know what it is from the thumbnail. This is a knife that I think 3 of my viewers emailed me about a month ago and said, Jake, this thing is on sale for 12 bucks at Canadian Tire. Can you review it? Or, what do you think of it and stuff? So I got one. And now I want to tell you about it. This is the Canadian Tire version of the Gerber AIR RANGER. It's identical to the other AIR RANGERs, except for it's got a nail nick instead of a thumb stud. Although thumb studs are totally legal in Canada, they still decided to make a version with a nail nick. It's still one-hand opening, although it's supposed to be two-hand opening by design, whatever. There's not just this aluminum gray version, there's a black version as well. But what we have is a, 2/3 of it is a fine edge and 1/3 is a serrated edge. If you're interested in seeing my review of this knife, stay tuned. Please watch this one advertisement that I allow per video right now. And once that's done, the review's coming to you. Stay tuned. Okay, so here she is. Let's just take a little bit of a look at it. And it's full-size folder, aluminum, liner lock. How big is this guy? Well, let's compare it to the Ontario Rat 1. It's definitely a smaller knife. Try to line up those pivot screws. Shorter blade, shorter handle, quite a bit thinner as well. Some specs about this thing. They don't explicitly say in public what kind of steel this is, but I wrote to Gerber to confirm, just because I don't believe other stuff that I find on the internet just out of hand. I like to, double check my things. 7 Sierra 17 MOV stainless steel for this blade. That's basically the same as 440A. I'm not too fond of 440A. I think there's enough other steels that are better that cost basically the same amount to manufacturers that it's just, why go with something so inferior? There's the nail nick on that side, a bead blast finish, a clip point, a bit of a swedge there, and it's got it's thick. It's got a thick point, and then you've got just belly, and just shortly after it straightens out, you've got the serrations. I'm not fond of partially serrated knives, but that's how you can get this one. Gerber has made a fine edge version, complete fine edge. It's kind of hard to find in stores though. This knife, the retail price for this guy is in Canadian Tire, is the only place you get this one, is $59.99. Yes, it is. But they had it on a big sale, not a clearance, but a big sale for $12, $11.99, I think it was. So at that price, I decided to get one. White Mountain Knives has got this same knife, but with a thumb stud for $31.99. Take off 10%, $28.79. But don't go buying it just yet. Keep watching. The handle, aluminum. You've got simple pins back here to hold it together. Lanyard hole right there. Lanyard hole, I wish they would have chamfered it. I did put some paracord through there and just moved it around a little bit and it get all tore up. We've got a liner lock, and lockup is actually in a half decent spot. But, can you hear that? Here, let me do it closer to my mic. Yeah, there's some lock rock, up and down play, and it's because this lock arm here or something inside the pivot or somewhere is not very secure. The pivot, the stop pin looks like it is very secure. It's screwed in on both sides. So that's not what's moving. It's either internal to the pivot, so that maybe the hole on the tang of the blade is bigger than the space for the pivot pin. That could cause it. Or this lock arm is too weak. It just can't resist the movement. That's no good. There's no liner on this side. It's just aluminum. They've got white nylon washers in there, which isn't terrible. But in 2020, a $60 knife, well, that's about 45 US. $45 knife, should have something better than that, and it shouldn't have lock rock. The texture of the knife on the side here, they've got these milled radiuses in there. It's actually quite nice. It's a fine texture there and a little coarser there. It offers good grip in the hand, which I really like. The choils here and the way the belly is milled out, that fits my hand very well, so I like that. It's okay in a reverse grip as well. There are some sharp edges on the inside, which they should have chamfered off or filed off just a little bit, like they did these edges here and here, but they should have done the inside because human flesh, it's pliable. It goes into those spots, and it scratched me up a little bit, not much. The screws, take a look at these screws. I'll give you some close-up pictures of these screws. Is that what torque screws really look like? No. These are very, very star-shaped, and these screws are soft, and they have to be very careful. They're not standard size. They're off by a fair bit. So here, I'll show you. That's a fair bit of rock in there. It's not super terrible, but it's a fair bit. It's worse on these other screws. There's a T6 in here. That's a lot. That's a lot of freedom of movement. And it's just very loose in there. And those things are going to get chewed up pretty easily. I haven't even taken this thing all the way apart yet because I don't want to mar the surfaces yet. But I will take it apart to show you the inside, although there's not much to see since there's no skeletonizing on the inside. But I want to see if this knife blade and that pivot pin have a lot of play in them or not. The pocket clip is tip down only. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are upset about tip down pocket clip. I'm not. I don't mind tip down. Now, this particular pocket clip, not so much. I don't really appreciate it a lot. It's not bad, but it's far from good. So here we go. It climbs over the edge, not always, but usually climbs over the edge well, and you push it in. It's got a fair bit of retention. The clip power, you could make it softer if you wanted to, but not bad. You've got about 1/4 of an inch, about 6 centimeters, 7 centimeters of the knife sticking out. On blue jeans, it doesn't stand out too much. I like that this is not too glossy, not too attention grabbing, so not bad. The blade, for being serrated, it's not that bad. They did whatever stone they had to sharpen the serrated section, it's actually sharpened fairly well, and it's sharp enough. But the rest of this knife, it's sharpened terribly. Bead blast finish, that's neither here nor there. I don't like it, but I don't really dislike it either. Some bead blast finishes I like, but This one, I don't know what they did when they cleaned it up, but you can see there's some shiny spots off the edge of the blade there. There you go, right there. You can see how it's really shiny there, and it's shiny along this edge. It's like they buffed the cutting edge somehow, and it smoothed out some of this bead blast area. It just looks wonky. Not very attractive. Okay, while this thing's on the screen, I'll be doing all the dimensions and that kind of information. What's the weight of this knife? Well, the weight's actually pretty good. 73 grams, 2.55 ounces. Yeah, aluminum will do that for you. That's a good thing. The sharpness of the blade. This section here, I had to do it about 5 times because I couldn't believe my eyes. 380 bes. 200 and less is considered sharp, and most knives that I review are in the low 100 or even under 100 on my testing. I tested this one the exact same way, 380. Cutting edge length now, 7.75 centimeters, 3.051 inches. And the blade length is 8.2 centimeters, 3.228 inches. The blade thickness, 2.74 millimeters, which is 0.108 of an inch. The blade depth, well, actually I measured where this fine edge is started, and that is 2.04 centimeters, 0.803 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, 0.91 millimeters, 36 thousandths of an inch. Yeah, way too thick. It's almost twice as thick as I prefer to have. The grind angles. Well, you sure you want to know? Well, the grind angle of this serrated section here, 14.8 degrees. So that's pretty good. The grind angle on the blade, this side is 26.2 degrees. This side is 34.7 degrees. And on a knife like this, usually 20 degrees per side is what you want. So 26, 34 and a half, well, almost 35. Not good. I can certainly sharpen this up nice, but it's always going to be thick behind the grind. And by the time I get this down to 20 degrees per side, it's going to be even thicker behind the grind because of how much metal I'll have to remove. Not good. That's enough reason for me to never recommend this knife, and I don't recommend it. It's not worth even $12. But continuing on now with the sizes, the handle length, 10.51 centimeters, 4.138 inches. The grip area, about 9.5 centimeters, about 3.75 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, 9.88 millimeters, so just under a centimeter, 0.388 of an inch. The handle depth, biggest right here, 2.48 centimeters, 0.976 of an inch. The knife depth when it's closed, its biggest right here, and that is 2.79 centimeters, 1.098 of an inch. And the total length of this knife, oh, I've only done the metric again. It is 18.71 centimeters and just under 7 3/8. So, yeah, those are the measurements. I've already told you about the price. Let's take this thing apart and take a look at the inside before I go over the summary. Let's take it apart. Okay, I'm trying to take it apart, but it felt like nothing was happening. It felt like it was all locked up and I couldn't turn it. So I thought, maybe I needed to take the pocket clip off and get at the other side because this just wasn't going. And I found that they've got a hex head screw end, but a square hole. So that's supposed to hold it. So it wouldn't undo anymore. So I just tried a little bit harder, tried a little more pressure, and it just spins freely in there now. The aluminum gave way. So there's no way for me to take this apart. unless I take a Dremel and Dremel a little slot in there. So I can put a flat screwdriver in one side and use this to loosen it up. I'll have to hold the whole thing in a vise too. So I'll go get out my Dremel and do that, and I'll get back with you. So this way I can use my flat screwdriver now that I have put a flat slot on the side there, and put this on this side so I can hold it from two sides, and I can try to undo it. Oh, they must put some really good Loctite in there. Okay, so this took me a fair bit of work. It's now in my vise here, and I've boiled this thing twice, and I put it in my ultrasonic bath, and I was finally able to get it to start to loosen. I haven't got it all the way out yet. I've chewed up the screw a little bit. I even used drive grip, and actually it doesn't look that bad. Got lucky just a little bit on one corner there. So these kind of vices are a really good thing to have. This one's a table vise. I bought it. It's a Chinese one, but it works just fine. I've got a video on this, and this is probably the best buy from this video, is to get one of these things. I'll put a link down below, as well as the links where you can buy this piece of junk. This is being recorded after I recorded everything else in the video. Basically, I finish the video and then I take the knives apart, because just in case something breaks, I've shown you how it is together. But if something does break, I do inform you guys, so that you know exactly what's happened. Well, that one doesn't want to come loose. Maybe on the other side. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, you've heard of this stuff. Especially in the United States, this is very budget friendly, but it's much harder to find in the rest of the world. Usually I just put some on the end of the screwdriver, but this time I'm just going to put a little bit all over the place. It's anti-cam out fluid. It's got tiny little grit in it. That's what the blackness is on there. It makes it bite much better so that it doesn't strip the screws out anywhere near as easily. Like, it's much, much better than trying to take out screws without it. So if you've got soft screws, especially if you know they're soft, it's best to use this drive grip first. That one's still stripped anyways, because these are so soft. Let's try it on this side. Nope, that one's stripped right out too. These are such soft screws. I don't think I can even finish taking this thing apart. And it's just turning along. Nothing to hold that other side. But I do have more screwdrivers, so back in the vise it goes. And then I'm going to go get a screwdriver, so I'm going to have to pause this here. Okay, there we go. I moved the camera up a bit. It's another little T6. This is also by Wera. I really like these little guys, but they give you this wide part so you get torque on it. So which one are we on? We haven't got this one out yet. Get that in there. Get that in there. Let's see if one of them, oh, that one's the one. That is the stripped one, isn't it? So even being stripped, it is stuck. And yes, I boiled the entire knife. So it's true what they say. Gerber doesn't want you to take your knives apart. They say that it avoids your warranty. At least that's what I've heard. And so they decide to use really soft hardware and a lot of Loctite. Probably the strongest stuff they can get. And so they make it so you can't take this knife apart. So this knife is literally going into the garbage. I can't open it up to show you anything else. And I hate destroying knives, but I needed to find out where that lock rock was coming from. And since all these screws were stripping, I didn't have any other choice. I'd already tried every. Don't go putting hints down below on how you can deal with Loctite. I tried all the methods out there, at least all the methods that have some veracity to them. Unfortunately, it was a piece of garbage. I tried to get away with just one little slot cut there, and that would have been hidden, so that would have been fine. But nope, it's garbage. And Gerber has a history of cheaping out. That's why I do very few reviews of Gerber knives on this channel. I know there's a lot of guys, ex-military guys or guys in the military. There's some Gerber knives that the military uses, both Canada and United States and other countries, I'm sure. And I think Gerber is resting on its laurels. They're making their money off of the government contracts. And the rest of their stuff, they do make some good knives. They really do. But a lot of the rest of their stuff is extremely subpar. Well, we're not quite over. I just took these pliers and I just grabbed them inside a little bit, and with very little pressure, I pulled back and it bent very easily. This is a very soft aluminum. And so I can take this pivot pin out. There's the 2 nylon washers. And where's the blade? There it is. And here's the blade. And yeah, there's a lot of sloppy play in there. And that's probably at least part of the reason why there was so much blade play. The lock rock. Because if there's play in here, the whole thing can move, because there's 3 pinch points on a liner lock and a frame lock. The one pinch point is the lock arm, of course. That pinches right here on the tang of the blade. The other pinch point is the stop pin touching here. So you got 2 spots back here that are pinch points. That's not enough to hold it. It needs a 3rd spot. The 3rd one is the pivot. All 3 of those need to be good to not have up and down lock rock on a liner lock or a frame lock. And the weak spot on this one is, well, the very light liner lock here. Not sure what kind of mild steel that is, but it's going to be a very soft, it might be stainless, but it's a very soft steel, I'm sure. And that the hole is too big. You need to have your pivot pin fit fairly snug so that there's no rocking around, there's no play here. Let's do this so you can really see it, because you'll be able to see how far I move this thing then. So we'll hold the pin this way, and there we go. So you'll be able to see if I'm moving this or not. Look at that. It's just loose in there. You shouldn't have that much play. So there you go. My piece of garbage that I spent a little over 13 Canadian dollars on after tax and everything. It is a definite piece of garbage. You don't want this one, and you don't want the ones that are left in the store. Just my opinion. I don't like this knife, and I don't recommend it. But I do thank my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. And I do thank everyone for using my links that are below my videos. And so I thank you for using those links. That does help out my channel a lot. I am saving up my Amazon commission money to get a proper camera instead of using my cell phone. Thanks to my Patreon supporters for supporting my channel. You guys are very good. Congratulations again to Oliver. You've been a supporter now for almost a little over a year. Thank you very much. To my new Patreon supporters, I thank you very much. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter, just go to patreon.com/CCE and you can sign up to support the channel. $2 or more a month. And the main benefits you get are I give you 48 hours notice at least of any sales that I have. So you can you've got first dibs on any knives. And the second big thing is every name gets put in a draw every month to win one of the things that I reviewed in the previous month. The only condition is you can only win once per calendar year. You can talk on Patreon or email me. But even if you're not a Patreon supporter and you want to email me, feel free to email me. Any questions, comments, anything, and I'd be happy to, give you my feedback. So this knife, not so good. I don't recommend it, not even at $12 Canadian, which is about $9 US. Nope, not that good. But thank you for watching, for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, the other guy, not your thumb. Bye for now.